Welcome to Kim Talks Resilience, where we share stories of insight and inspiration in life, love, and business with resilient women from around the world. Speaking with authors, entrepreneurs, founders, and coaches to learn their strategies for a more resilient life so we can all build the life we love. I'm your host, Kim Hayden. Hello, and welcome back to Kim Talks Resilience. If this is your first time joining me, I'm Kim Hayden, and I am super excited to meet you. Let me tell you all about what Kim Talks Resilience is about. Kim Talks Resilience is about meeting women globally who are making changes in their own way. These are women who are speakers, leaders, coaches, entrepreneurs, authors, you name it, but they're stepping out in front so they can make space for those women who are ready to take the next step. So I am super excited always when I get here to Kim Talks Resilience because I have yet to meet a woman who doesn't blow my mind. And you are in for a treat today because this gal actually is going to have some answers for me because I was actually talking about a woman that would be in this person's role, right? What this weekend we're going, oh my gosh, how do you do this? Oh my God, it's so hard. And you know what? With the internet being crazy and flooded, by the way, I'm so glad did I mention that you actually found this? That how do you do this? How do you navigate? So you need somebody who can step out in front. So Amy Anderson is a widely respected and creative. Sorry, let me just start that over and we're going to edit that little spot out. Amy Anderson is a widely respected and creative industry leader with more than 30 years of experience at brands such as Calvin Klein, 17, and the New York Times Digital. As the co-founder of Wild Coffee Marketing, love that, she focuses on transforming businesses through a diverse set of disciplines and tailor-made teams. So there is just so much going on for each and every one of us. I think there's like I always joke that there's like seven levels of hell in building a business, and
Mm.
and you can't know it all. You can't know it all. Welcome to the show, Amy.
Thank you so much for having me, Kim.
I am super excited. Whereabouts are you?
I'm actually in Naples, Florida.
It's nice there. It's
It is,
cold here. I want to
I
come
can
to
imagine.
Florida.
I can
I'm
imagine. Life is never that hard in the tropics until tropics stir up, right? So,
until the tropical storm.
right.
Although down in Florida, how close are you to the so forgive me folks, I'm going to be really like dumb on geography here, but I'm sure there'll be somebody out there with me on this. How close is Naples to the Everglades?
It is right on the edge of Naples. So just a few miles from my house, you start driving through those incredible grasslands. One of my favorite places on earth there.
Okay, well, I'm going to spoil that for you. Did you know that the Burmese python, invasive Burmese python, they think there's over 300,000 of them in those grasses,
They
and they can
actually
only
have
collect.
hunts.
Yes,
They
I know. I interviewed one of the very few licensed female python hunters, and she's telling me about this. And she goes, "Yeah, we had a case where it ate somebody's golden retriever." And I'm going, "Yeah, I'm taking my dog for a walk."
Well, we actually had a man who regularly removed alligators from our lakes when I was growing up. So
Oh, crazy.
it's part of the critter aspect. And then I moved to New York and spent
Yeah,
most of my 20s there working, and it was a whole other level of critters. So I
critters.
find that no matter where you go, they're just there and we cook with them.
Yeah,
So
we have coyotes. We have coyotes that come right into our backyard, like, and they'll like
unbelievable.
take your small dog and cat, right? So
Yeah,
everybody's got something, right?
we've
All
all
right.
got them.
So I want to know. So you just said New York. New York's on my bucket list. It was on my list. I was actually going in 2019, and we know what happened then. So my goal is to get there this year. Let's go through who is Amy. Like, what makes up Amy?
Oh my goodness. Well, I sometimes default to work, right? Because for 30 years, I have been in marketing, mostly working on client side, and it's what I love and it's my passion until my boys came along. And we were talking earlier about it's really hard for me now with them at 16 and 18 to remember having purpose before them. And it's actually why I started my business. And I had been married to their father for 12 years and was divorced quickly and unexpectedly in many ways. And I had to continue to support them financially. And I had already been in my area of expertise in marketing. You had mentioned the New York Times and Calvin Klein, and how could I continue to support my family, but also have time for these boys who were so precious to me? And I was lucky to be able to start consulting in my area of expertise, supported by my parents who invested in my business for 12 months and said, you have 12 months to try to figure this out. And from that was born Wild Coffee.
Consulting and the investment. This is going to take me in a different direction here, and I am interested in everything you do. But real quickly, I do want people to know you're very fortunate you had somebody who could invest, because banks don't invest in women's startups.
Yep.
Venture capitalists do not. Even when you have the incredible experience you had, right? Not very many people can put those names on their resume.
Right. And access to capital for women, as we know. I mean, remember in the 70s, there was women had to have mortgages signed off on by their husbands before they
Yep.
could even have a mortgage. So access to capital for us is not as easy. And yes, I was very fortunate that they invested in my children and in
Yep.
me and said that I had exceeded their expectations professionally. And as you know, what they knew in their daughter, doesn't every parent in
That
some
is
way think that,
awesome.
right? So it's good to
Yes.
have that perception of your investor as your parent. But I'm very open about that because I don't want to mislead anyone into thinking, oh, well, I had this 20-year career, I became divorced, had a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, and started consulting, and the rest was history. It wasn't that. It was a slow start and a slug. And I didn't know what the business would be, but I knew I was good at something.
Yeah.
But what you find is that you also have to take that area of expertise. Then you have to be great at accounting in some
This is
ways
what
and
I'm talking, the
finance.
7 layers, man. 7 layers.
Mhm.
Yeah, you gotta do the accounting and you may be good at marketing, but, are you also good at the tech side? I've just spent 6 weeks learning a new platform,
Right.
and
And you have to be
it's
good
like
at HR. Sales is the biggie, Kim, right?
yeah,
Because you
sales is
have
biggie.
to be able to sell the expertise. You have to sell it to clients that are a good fit for you. You have to sell it to clients who are profitable. You have to negotiate agreements. You need to renew agreements. And so that those are the skills that I don't think I really possessed when I
Yeah.
started on this adventure. And those are ones together with my business partner, who was actually my boss, who hired me in 2004. We've worked together in different capacities for 18 years, and now is my business partner. But we've complemented each other's skills. So I've been very lucky to have a partner as well. But
Yep.
yeah, the sales, the HR, the accounting is a whole different part of the business, the marketing, right?
I intentionally do not have an HR department because I'm so politically incorrect. I was like it's like, "We're
You
just
saved
better
yourself
just to
from yourself.
turn a blind eye. Let's not look at this. Kim did not say that," right? But the problem is everything I say is recorded, so I think I probably am gonna get in trouble for that one, with my
Right.
future HR department. So let's go down the road of what you do. Walk me through Wild Coffee Marketing. First of all, I love the name. So let's go through just the naming process, and then and what you offer and what clients expect from you.
Great. Well, the naming process is also it's often very funny in these days because um, everything's taken. You have to have a domain, right? A URL. You have to pass copyright muster in your service. And so when I was writing my business plan originally in about 2015, I looked out the window and there's a plant that was growing and it was overgrowing and it was called wild coffee. And it had these bright white berries. It's not Arabica that we brew and drink. It's sort of a wild berry that grows, but it was vibrant and shiny with these pretty berries that I was often having to cut it back with a machete. And when we went to name the consulting firm that we started, we wanted a name with sort of stopping power. And that was always in the back of my mind as this vibrant, naturally growing plant and its environment and a metaphor for what we do for companies and what we're trying to accomplish ourselves. And so my partner and I really took our client side marketing experience, right? He had worked at Discovery Networks. I was at the New York Times and 17 Magazine. We worked together at a financial services company in Florida, the second largest headquartered in the state at the time. And we knew there had to be a better way for in-house marketing departments or companies who were hiring in-house talent to actually run and outsource their marketing. So rather than an agency, we are a team of consultants who serve as an outsourced marketing team. We just happen to own our own creative agency. That creative agency is Inside Wild Coffee. So everything we do is rooted in strategy, and that's where we start. We won't start an engagement without doing some of that positioning work, all of those really important things. So you know who you are, you know where you sit in the market. And then we'll implement those plans using our amazing creative teams.
What a lot of women who, so we've had this great resignation generation a couple times over. So women in their 40s who are deciding they're not going back to the office. They're going to take their zone of genius, package it, and get it out there to the world. And then they find out the world's really congested and it's really hard to get people to listen and so forth and so on. Can you share with me, because I think a lot of these women, including myself, is we get there's these muddied lines between what is marketing and what is PR, and where is the defining line between the two, or is there a defining line in today's digital world?
There's definitely a defining line. You can't tell a story like you would in PR without developing the story first. And you have to know the positioning work, sort of who you are, where you are in the market, what attributes you have, what value do those attributes present to clients, and then who are those clients and why would they care? You know, so that sort of positioning and foundational work, and we call it, there's a model in marketing called PESO, which is paid, earned, shared, owned media. We start with owned, right? So what is your story? What is your position? And what does your owned media landscape look like? And that includes your website, your YouTube channels, your social media accounts. What are you saying about yourself that differentiates you from competitors? PR is actually the storytelling of the story you've created, right? And we look at PR in a very different way. That's influencer and
Yeah.
media. It's getting that story out there. Who's going to retell your story? Who's going to share your product? Who is going to sort of amplify that to their niche audiences? And it doesn't have to be a big, broad national strategy. It just needs to reach the people who care about your unique attributes and the value that they bring that person. So doing that foundational work and really defining that is what is critical to even getting people to listen or care.
In your opinion, with today's world, so focused on influencer, right? Do you feel that part of a new business, a consultant, or somebody who develops a cream or anything, right? Do you feel that part of their strategy needs to have a like a micro celeb or influencer strategy through a PR in order to get their product to market and seen?
I think it's an effective way for a few reasons. First of all, even with a micro or nano influencer who's not celebrity-ish, right? These are people with 5,000 followers, 7,000. They tend to have highly engaged audiences, people who are really listening, engaging with them every day, and there's some trust there.
Yeah.
It can potentially be low cost in that way because you're giving away product, right? So we believe that any new e-commerce brand, anyone selling the new cream, developing a new product, must set aside a product budget for influencer, and there may be cash payments on top of that. But it's a really great low cost way to get people who like your product to talk about it to their audiences. And I've watched a brand, actually a friend of mine who's based in Miami has a really wonderful brand called, actually she's based in Naples. I forgot I'm on this coast. But it's called Anya Nikki, and she's had an incredible strategy with influencers with her handbag company. And I've seen her thrive and really sort of build on that over the years. So I like it. We think it works really well.
Amazing. Now, as a business owner yourself now, um, CRMs, follow-ups,
Mm,
sales.
mm.
How hard was that for you to switch into that mindset as a business owner? Because a lot of that is almost redundancy versus creative. That's a
Yes. And
hard one, and that's
confidence.
yeah, that is where a lot of people struggle in this getting they may be very creative, but it's those nitty-gritty pieces, those building blocks that get
Yes.
missed, or they don't understand fully. So first of all,
Right.
what CRM do you use out of curiosity?
We use one built into our project management software called Teamwork. Uh,
Teamwork, okay?
and so there's a CRM within Teamwork. It's a project management software designed for creative agencies and consulting firms. And my business partner and I use it quite a bit. We have discussed whether or not we would hire a business development executive to work with us to grow the firm. And the answer is no. We must set time aside. And the CRM helps you do that, right? Because it reminds you, it keeps track of who you've talked to, what position, what stage in the sales process they are.
Yeah,
But you have, as a business owner, we don't think anyone can sell the company like we can, can't sell the team like we can. But so we set aside quite a bit of time for that. And I think it's a skill that you can sharpen. I don't think I started out with the confidence to sort of stand behind what we were offering and in the pricing, Kim. I mean, I think especially as women business owners, I think that we tend to maybe discount a little bit more. I mean, there's studies about women and
mhm.
confidence
It's
in this
true.
world, and we tend to discount our pricing. We tend to compromise a little bit more, and I've really sort of worked to develop that, especially now that I have 20 employees in 7 states, and we've done incredible work for national brands. So now the work speaks for itself. But in
Yeah,
the beginning, you just have to do it. That's
yeah.
it.
I think the challenge, think the reason, and this is just a hypothetical, folks. I have not seen an article on this. I'm just connecting dots. We do know that more female-founded businesses bootstrap it and earn less because they don't have initial funding. Less than in 2021, less than 5% of traditional bank loans went to female-founded new startups. Um, so then that person who is bootstrapping it is trying to get services to go next level. And so they have limited funds, right? So they're going out there. And a lot of women, I know in the coaching industry, which is really fascinating, in the coaching space, um, nearly 70% of all the programs purchased go to a male coach, male or female purchasers. Doesn't matter. When they, surveyed, 50% of women chose a male to coach with, right? So when we're
Interesting.
looking at it, it's all very so that pie keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller for revenue creation, and then we go out and look for people that can help us. So then we have less, and I don't think it's first. I don't think it's that you ask for less. I think that you're reading the market, going,
Right.
okay, this person's got X amount of dollars. I can do this. Um, but let's walk through that one of those people. Let's walk through one of the largest growing markets right now is, women over 38 who aren't going to go back to corporate America, who are really good at one thing and are right now building a course, a product, a program, an event, something, and they need to get clarity. They're really good on the creative side, or they know their one thing really well, but everything else is a mess, right?
Right. Right.
So, where do you start with somebody like that in your specific service?
I think it's really understanding from a marketing perspective what the product is, how you're pricing it, and what is your positioning, right? Then you can go to how do you promote it, right? So I really think the fundamentals of the 4 Ps make sense here because you have to get clarity on that. One of the things I would have absolutely done differently had I done this all over again is I would have hired a fractional CFO sooner. Because I think when you talk about bootstrapping, Kim, and sort of margins and money and trying to grow, you absolutely need to understand your financials. And you need to be able to forecast cash. You need
Yep.
to be able to understand your margin by client or by product or by service, what your costs of goods are, where you might be able to find some small business funding, right?
Yeah.
Actually, COVID actually helped us because we had PPP
Exactly.
money that kept us alive, right? We had
Yeah.
access to SBA capital with deferred payments at a very low interest rate. I mean, getting capital under 4% to grow the business. So I actually think that despite having a severe revenue hit within 2 months of everything shutting down in March of 2020, we were able to grow because we got access to capital. Then we hired a CFO to help us manage the capital and look at the business to help us understand what types of clients should we attract? Projects, retainers, what was more profitable? What's that profitability? What are our targets? How should our people be billing their time? Build to clients or build back to the company? What percentages? So getting clarity on your financials, I think, is a really important part of this.
Excellent. And what would you do for them? They've got clarity on their you're gonna go through, and set those 3 up. What is the first action step you do with every client?
Positioning. There's a book
Positioning.
that we can talk about, but April Dunford wrote a book called Obviously Awesome. She is a positioning expert coming out of the tech world out in Palo Alto. And she has do you remember the ad libs that many of us learned in business school? And it's, this product does this for this people, and
Yeah.
these are the reasons to believe versus competitors.
Feature, benefit,
Yeah,
life change or yeah.
right.
And
It's
and
just sort of filling in a Mad Lib
yeah.
that
Yeah.
has no, that makes a lot of assumptions. Her positioning sort of transformed the way that we conduct this with clients, which is to understand who would you, if you didn't exist, Kim, who else would they use? Right? What are the
Oh,
competitive alternatives to your coaching? Now, what are the key attributes that you bring to clients or your product brings to customers? What is unique versus those competitive alternatives? Then, what is the value of each of those? And then why do the people who will buy it care? And who are they? And you may find that the people that you thought would be interested in you are not actually the ones based on the competitive alternatives, the attributes, and the value. Right. So it's a wonderful book. It really transformed the way we look at that positioning, but you have to know who you are and who you are going to talk to. Right. And if you boil it down to some basics, then things won't feel like such a mess and they won't feel
yeah.
confusing and you'll get clarity on all those.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, eh, it's a lot, especially for somebody who is coming out of a single job performa, right? You have one task, you do this. That one task may have multiple layers to it, but it's one task. But as soon as you go into business ownership, that one task a lot of times is the smallest part of the overall equation.
Right. Right. Right.
Can you share with us a time while you've been building this or doing this? Share with us a time that um, without resiliency, uh, you wouldn't be having this conversation.
Mm. I
Oh,
think
hold on one second, Amy.
yeah,
We've got a question. Tamara Duffy says, what was the name of that book?
it's Obviously Awesome by April Dunford.
Awesome.
And my
Uh,
whole team has read it. It's sort of the manifesto of that very specific part of our intellectual property. And I'm so grateful to April having done all of this work. But I think any business owner should go, you're welcome. Any business owner should go through that process and to look and just to go through that positioning exercise because it evolves and changes and market conditions change, right? So it's really important.
eh,
To answer your question about resiliency, I wonder about COVID, but we talked a little bit about that, about, did we have to release any of our team members? The answer was no. Did we have to take on clients we wouldn't have? We called them COVID clients during the time and make some compromises there. We did. So I think that just showed our ability to pivot and to have some clarity there. I think as far as resiliency um, is concerned, I remember before I started Well Coffee, and while I was still in corporate positions, I remember saying to people multiple times, I am not an entrepreneur. I am a corporate person. I'm really good in that environment. I know how to function in corporate environments. I feel safe. I'm not an idea person. I am a marketing person in corporate entities. And then my life shift happened, and I was looking at these little boys, and I just couldn't imagine what life would have been like for them to have me traveling all the time or gone a lot. And so I had to go against my own belief system about myself, and actually approach my first client and say, I'm consulting and this is my skill set and this is what I can offer, until I signed that first client in 2016. So,
It's amazing that you actually target that you went against what you had verbalized as your belief.
mm,
Because had you asked me 24 months ago, if I was going to be a Google Doc movement queen, a development queen, know all the AIs that are coming down the pipes, know how to use the AIs, how to learn, I would have looked at you and said, dude, my typing teacher kicked me out in 11th grade. And that's literally was the extent of my technology up until just a few years ago. And now my entire playground is based within technology. And I think that it's those limiting beliefs. I think it's that limiting language we put on ourselves, and we allow fear or uncertainty or doubt. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Those three things can crush potential like nothing else. And I love how that you acknowledged that you had said, "I'd never be an entrepreneur." Because I mean, like, don't we know entrepreneur is like the word, like, I think it's a Latin word for one paycheck away from broke, right? So
well, we were saying this weekend, I was saying, I had a difficult situation around. I had a great situation at the end of the day Friday. Really, we offered a job to a woman I really, really admire and liked, and was really hoping she would take the offer, and she did. She accepted at 6 o'clock on Friday, and then had a very difficult email 15 minutes later, right? Because there are certain sectors that are starting to struggle, right? Goldman Sachs announced today that they're laying off 3,200
yep,
employees, right? So life as a co-founder, as an entrepreneur, is like, yes, and then, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh no, yes,
yep.
oh no. And it's just to be at peace with a roller coaster. And as you mentioned, I kept thinking limiting beliefs, just as you were saying it, is to not, and you said to me earlier in this conversation, I'm not a tech person. Well,
Yeah, I'm not,
that
I call it tech intuitive. I am
oh,
not
that's
tech
right. You are not tech.
intuitive. I
Okay,
used to say I'm not a tech person. Now I say I'm not tech intuitive. I have to submerge myself. Ah,
perfect.
for
Perfect.
other people get it in 6 days. It takes me 6 weeks, folks. but
Well, right
but
now it does, but it may
yeah,
take 2 weeks going forward, and
exactly.
and it's really to sort of lean into our expansiveness.
Yep.
I talked to my son plays soccer and lives away from home, and moved out very young to dedicate his life to his sport, and so much of relating to someone, it could be a team member, a colleague, who is dedicating so much at such a high level, comes with a dark side. And
Yep.
so I'm constantly talking to him about openness and belief and acceptance, right? He's just coming back from a hip fracture he sustained at 15 years old in a game.
Oh,
And to say, today is his first day back in training in Orlando, and today be okay with where you are, but don't let go of the belief, right?
yeah.
Just accept where you are today, but you can still believe. But don't rush yourself, or don't tell yourself you can't. If you had asked me a few years ago if I'd be out talking about women and leadership and entrepreneurship, I would have laughed. So, and yet here we are.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about, though, and it's about speaking up, right? Not, and speaking truths, not optics, right?
Right.
There's a lot of issues right now around optics globally. And, what we perceive something to be is not actually truthfully what it is. Um, let's go into books. So you did mention one book. what other books would you recommend for a female entrepreneur? Because I'm sure you have read them all now.
I have read a bunch. So it's interesting. Our team for the Wild Coffee Instagram account and LinkedIn just did what's on Amy and Solomon's bookshelves for the end of the year and our favorite business books. So definitely, obviously awesome. Another one is Traction by Gina Wickman. And Traction is a book about entrepreneurial organizational system, EOS. And a lot of small businesses may use it, but it's an approach to a highly accountable plan-based growth system for businesses. And it's how we run Wild Coffee. And we actually advise a lot of our clients, right? Because we do more than just marketing. We sit in the C-suite of national brands in some cases and advise executives. And EOS has been really, really helpful to us. We act like a big company with just 20 people, right? Our planning cycles, how we create goals, how we create accountability within the organization. So I love the rhythm, and Traction's a great book for that.
Excellent. All righty, folks. So we have like literally poured into you this morning. I mean, everything, it's one step at a time, one step at a time. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And this is what we've done today. You've got this elephant that you are lugging around and feeding and showing off. And that's really what we do as entrepreneurs is we have this huge thing and we've got to figure out how to cultivate it, how to
Mm-hmm.
digest it and put it out so it's us, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of a really gross analogy, eating an elephant and then digesting it. But I hope everybody's following me on this. Can you imagine Sunday night dinners at my table with my kids? They just all, yeah, that's what they do to me. Oh, it's mom, right?
Oh my
But
gosh. I love it. There's nothing for me, there's nothing like being made fun of by teenage boys.
oh,
I love it. I
yeah,
delight in it. I never feel more love than when I'm being made fun of by those guys. So
yep. Or
it's a lot of fun.
now, do they ever bring their friends around and they go, your mom?
Oh
And
yes.
it's like, yes, I'm
Yes,
going,
there was a
yeah,
poker game in my house Saturday night, and at 1 o'clock in the morning, I texted. It was both boys, both groups of friends. I was so happy they were here and safe and having a great time. And I did text and said, "Sons, I do believe that 1 a.m. is a reasonable time for me to ask you to please wrap this up."
yeah.
And I approach them with respect. I always have. I've modeled respect to them, and I get that back from them. So I didn't have this crazy sort of teenager experience with them. I've been really fortunate. So, but they do make fun of me quite a
Oh, yeah. That's that.
bit.
You can't
But
poke.
I want. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'm dying
I
to
want
hear
to
what
make
you're gonna s
I want to make this quick point about eating the elephant, right? There's also eat the frog, right? Which is a concept of like eat the frog first thing in the morning. It's a Mark Twain thing. But
Yep,
Good to Great by Jim Collins is a great book that has been sort of our manifesto for a long time about that sort of eating the elephant concept where there is no great moment. There is no great program. There is no sort of single defining action that builds a successful company. Rather, it's alignment of multiple actions. And that's that concept of the flywheel, right?
yep,
So, what are the things that feed into each other that eventually create momentum in a big, heavy wheel? Right. So, we have defined our flywheel. We know what it is. We know what makes it move. We revisit it as a team quite often. But it just, you've got to break everything down into sort of some smaller, digestible bites, right? Who you are and what your positioning is and what your owned media is.
yep.
And then what is your sort of mission and what actions feed into creating momentum in a wheel? And then you can sort of break out and break into the beyond, but it's not one big defining moment. It's lots of little ones done right.
You have to know every piece. You have to know every piece, and then you can appoint people to those pieces once you know the piece. Once you know it needs to be done, you don't actually have to do it for the rest of your life. You can actually find somebody to do it, but you need to know how to do it first.
Right.
I
Or you need to know what it is
or know what
or
it is.
why,
Yeah.
right? Why
Exactly.
are you doing it? Um,
Exactly.
and then sometimes it's okay to abandon different ideas or to try things. We've had to pivot. Our business model when we started is not our business model today.
Yep.
And pivoting, and that's one of our values. We have four, and one of them is energy is everything. we are agile and pivoting and trying to do the right thing by our clients. And you have to be open to do that, I believe, in an entrepreneurial world, especially now.
Absolutely, and, I personally just went through that myself. I mean, I've had this crew telling me I need to have a 12-week course, and I need to have a one-year course, and it needs to be $20,000, and it needs to be this, and it needs to be that, and I finally just put my foot down last week and said, "Dudes, I'm a sprinter. I'm not long distance. I'll do workshops. We can do workshops. I cannot do these long haul courses." So what we did is they finally listened, took everything that was going to go into this course and chopped it into workshops. So now I can do what I do best, which is a 1-day intense or 2-day intense. Let's get it done, get in, get out, have the tools we need, and then and we're good. And
Right.
I said, "This is actually kinda cool because then they can à la carte it. They can pick the
Right.
pieces as opposed to sitting painfully through something that they really didn't want or need." Isn't
Right.
that cool? And
Yeah.
it's like, it takes time, and we all have there's all these experts out there are speaking, they all have these formulas to make it big, and every formula is based on the last person, and the truth is, if you're unique, be you. The formula, make the formula fit you, not
Right.
you having to fit the formula and being uncomfortable,
Well,
because I
because then it will
guarantee somebody
show.
else, yeah, somebody
Yeah.
else will love you.
Yeah, it'll show. And I think it's a hard, it was a momentous year when we actually were pitching new business and said, you know what, this we don't think this is a good fit for you or us. And before we, when we were building, we had to take everything we could and learn from it, improve
Yep,
ourselves. And through that experience, we learned, you know what, brand new e-commerce brands, when they haven't proven the concept at all and a budget level isn't what it needs to be, it ends up putting that on our team. And it's
yep,
not a good experience for our team, because without my team, I have no business at all. They are
yep.
everything. They are our product, their minds are what we offer. And they're so valuable to us. So I didn't want to take on clients that weren't true to us, and that put them in a
Yeah.
position that was challenging. I have to do things that are right by them.
So share with us all your socials. Where can people find you?
Everywhere I am, everything is, for me, it's Wild Coffee. Wild Coffee Marketing on Instagram and on LinkedIn. Our website is wildcoffeemarketing.com. You can People can see the clients that we work for, some of the national brands we're working for, some of our niches and our work, and our creative teams do pretty amazing work, and they highlight client work, and they also have some pretty good thoughts about sort of our culture, how we're building our clients' businesses. And so there's a whole showcase out there to see.
Excellent. Now, close us out today. Give us a quote, something that's resonating with you right now, and why.
Oh, great vision without great people is irrelevant. And again, that's Jim Collins from Good to Great. My team's been on my mind a lot lately. We're going into a new year. We just hired a new person on Friday, and, I wouldn't be here without them. And it's an honor as a business owner that people choose to take a stop with us and make us part of their career and work as hard as they do. And they're so talented. So the vision that I have for outsourced marketing would be nowhere without this amazing group of people.
Perfect. There you go, folks. Take a look at your team, send them a donut, do something nice for them, because without our teams, our supports, our families, life is a whole lot harder, and we don't get
Absolutely.
nearly as far. What is that? If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Well,
Absolutely.
that's it. That's it for us
Thank
today.
you.
I'm Kim Hayden. This is Kim Talks Resilience. If you ever feel that your resiliency is lagging, be sure to listen and lean into our resilient community. Grab your membership, over a free membership, by the way. Never going to ask you for a credit card or a sneaky renewal fee. It is resilientgift.com. Resilientgift.com. Go there, grab that monthly magazines. We've got all these podcasts going on, and we have events. Next event is March 1st. So be sure to check us out, lean in, and you know what? Stop by Amy, because I bet you if somebody can help clarify your goals for 2023 and build your business, because you deserve it. You deserve success. Again, Thank you for joining me. I'm Kim Hayden, and this is Kim Talks Resilience. Thank you for joining us here today at Kim Talks Resilience. I'm your host, Kim Hayden, and I'd love to invite you to our resilient community at resilientgift.com. That's resilientgift.com, and we'll send you our magazine and tickets for upcoming events and all sorts of cool things we do here. So be sure to keep watching, and you know what? Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share, because we all know that sharing is caring.